Ja, herzlich willkommen zur neuen Ausgabe SI-Talk, Anfang Oktober 2019. Und ich habe es damals oder letzte Woche schon gesagt, ein wichtiger Punkt für meinen Trip ist, ich will mir Gold Companies anschauen, bei denen ich glaube, dass A, mal viel Potenzial besteht und B, dass da irgendwas Besonderes ist. Und das Besondere von dieser Company ist, und zwar First Mining Gold. Erstens mal habe ich einen Conflict of Interest. Sie kommt ja raus aus dem ganzen First Majestic-Umfeld vom Keith Neumeyer. Und ich bin eigentlich schon damals, wie sie an die Börse gegangen bin, schon Aktionär, habe jetzt auch beim letzten Placement wieder nachgekauft. Der Aktienkurs schaut nicht wirklich weltbewegend aus. Aber das ergibt sich ja daraus, dass wir daraus eine gute Profit machen. Worum geht's? Sie wissen es ja noch, ich habe schon früher mit dem Management ein Interview gehabt, noch nicht mit Dan, weil er ist neu dabei. Aber die Idee war damals ganz simpel, sie kaufen sich in der Rezession, die wir 2015 gehabt haben, Projekte zusammen und verkaufen sie dann quasi, wenn der Markt hochgeht. Ja, was passt besser aus wie der jetzige Markt, wo der Goldpreis eigentlich jetzt ausgebrochen ist, konsolidiert gerade und wahrscheinlich im ersten Halbjahr die zweite Welle hinlegen wird. Then, thank you for your time. And I said in my long German introduction, first I have a conflict of interest. I'm a shareholder.
And thank you for that. I appreciate your conflict and your shareholding.
And I say a little bit the story how to come, so that it's coming out of Keith Neumeyer's office, and the main idea was behind 2015-16 to buy a project that you be ready for the next cycle when it's coming up to sell this project into the market to companies that then need projects.
Right.
So, and that brings me to a point. Is this still the business idea?
Yeah.
So that you have a lot of projects. How many ounces you have in the ground?
Between measured and indicated and inferred, about 11 million ounces in really 6 main projects in Canada.
So, and this is also a point in Canada, we must say. So, and Canada is from the jurisdiction a much better place than some other parts of the world.
We like to think so.
So you take out with this particular thing a lot of risk out of your project. So and now it's normally a lot of investors can think say, hey, we have now a new cycle in the gold. The company must doing well. But then we look on the stock price, the share price, and say, that's not really correlate. So higher gold price not really correlate with the higher price in your stock.
Yeah.
So what is the reason? What do you think?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's frustrating for all of us, right? And no one is more focused on ultimately on trying to remove that disconnect between the fundamental value of this portfolio and the share price than we are. Like, that's our job. So to kind of take a step back, you'd asked about the strategy of the company, and is it still the strategy? The portfolio was put together, as you said, in 2015, 2016, really in the darkest days of the downturn. And Keith and the team here at the time accumulated the projects, I think, with a bit of a strategy of buy and hold. So we'll accumulate these projects. Gold price will go up. The great thing is we won't spend any money on them, and then they'll be worth a lot more, and then we'll sell them. So they did a really good job in the first part of that, accumulating these projects. And in some senses, I talk a little bit about that being one of the fundamental flaws of the strategy. If you're going to have a buy and hold for real leverage and optionality strategy, you don't really want good projects. Because you want way out of the money call options, so the value goes exponential, because you need, when you get to 1,500, it's closer to the 2,000 where it really works. What the team here bought were, a number of really good developable gold projects in great jurisdictions, and so one of my first jobs when I got here was to look at the portfolio and say, where do we think the nearest term value catalysts are in this portfolio, and on each of the projects, and what's it going to cost to get to each of these value milestones, and then prioritize, because we don't have unlimited capital. You have to kind of pick the ones where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. So that's what we did. I mean, we went through, and it was very, very clear as we went through that process that the single biggest unlocking of value we can achieve in this company is getting a permit for Springpool. Because the moment that project is permitted and taken, let's say, through pre-feasibility study and the economics understood, it will be, it should, in a rational market, go from being valued at 0.1 times its net asset value to 0.5 or 0.6. And so, that value kind of accretes over time when you look at other development stories. But because of some of the unique development nature of the development at Springpool around the cofferdams, a lot of people just aren't going to believe it until you get those permits. So it's a long way of saying that while the stated strategy kind of went from buy and hold to my predecessor said we're going to go build the mines. Which is ambitious and optimistic and noble, but the reality is there's a lot of work to do before you have to make the construction decision. We are very sensibly de-risking these projects, doing the quality of work that will have these projects appeal to the biggest mining companies in the world, and ultimately have them ready to go, getting to your next point, at exactly the time when those companies are starting to realize that they have real shortfalls in their production profile going forward.
That brings me to the point. At the moment, it looks like that the big companies, the Barrick and whatever they're called, they are not have really a strategy to growth. Do you see the first lights showing up? And you were before in Denver Gold Show. That's the maybe the biggest show here in North America. And Beaver Creek. Do you see that the first companies coming to the market and look for projects from this group?
I'll tell you absolutely. I've been going to the Precious Metals Summit at Beaver Creek since 2009, I think. So. This was far and away the busiest that it's been, and our calendar, schedule was basically back to back for 2 days, every half hour for 10 hours a day. But a lot of those meetings were project evaluation teams from bigger companies, really from all over the world, who are looking at projects that they can start paying attention to. So they're not walking around with open checkbooks just yet, but it's always a slow sales cycle with a project, but they are starting to pay attention because they've been given mandates from senior management and their board to start looking at what their production profiles look like in 2025 and beyond. And the reality is they will have a number of internal expansion or mine life extension projects, but most producers don't have a significant development project in their pipeline right now.
Yeah, and this is understandable also from their standpoint. And in the last 8 years, it was not the time to growth. The only what they can do is to merge with other company, and this they've already done the biggest one.
Cut costs.
Rationalize your pipeline. And it looks also that you increase your production, but you don't increase it through new mines, only to acquisition other big company. So that's not really helped. So to summarize a little bit, you make a change from the strategy that from the buy and hold in buy to more de-risk the project, show the other companies these are interesting project, reasonable projects. And by the way, I must say I was yesterday on your website. You do a great job on the website.
Thank you.
It looks really clear. You have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You have a description of all the project. You do a fantastic job. I must really say this.
Thank you.
So you change now the strategy more to develop this project, to de-risk them. Then, if then the big company is coming, they can cherry pick that what they really want, what works in your portfolio and what looks like.
Yeah.
Is this kind of your a good description of your business model now?
I think the key word that you have used is de-risk, right? And it's such an important fundamental part of this business model, because if you just hold assets and don't do anything to make them better, I often say a good mining project is a bit like fish. Like you leave it on the shelf for too long, it can kind of start to smell. You need to be prepping it and getting the pan ready in order to cook it so you're going to have a nice meal. If you have projects like the projects that we have, but you don't do things to better understand the technical risks, a commodity price change will only do you so much good. Because in the end, people still look at what you paid for it, and they get very focused on that must be the value because that's the price you paid, irrespective of what's happened to the commodity price or the overall valuation environment. Whereas if you've achieved some real value milestones, you've defined a better plan, you've increased the size of the project, like we've done at Goldlund, you tag into a whole new deposit that's sitting 10 kilometers along a big regional structure, and you're demonstrating that can grow, that this deposit has, or this property has multiple deposits that are going to come together. That changes people's perception, and it allows you to really reset it while you've done all the right things with the local communities, while you've done all the right things, making sure you're scoping an environmentally sensitive project, and while you're doing all the right things to try and identify the best possible development scenario for those mines. A lot of that stuff costs money, but it's not the big money in the mining sector. It's a lot of intellectual capital. And that's really what we're focused on, is de-risking these projects, moving them forward.
Now we're coming to this point, hopefully in 1 or 2, 3 years, that it shows up that the market is in the right environment and companies come and will buy some project from you. Is it now the strategy to sell the company as a whole thing? Or is it more that you say, okay, we have 5 or 6 tier 1 projects at the moment, or 5?
Well, 6 projects. We kind of class our Quebec projects in as one.
Or that people looks for single project. How maybe a sales process can be? Single project, whole company, cash, maybe shares, whatever, or spin out. Do you have any ideas how it looks like?
My background is in corporate finance and mergers and acquisitions. So, between 2009 and 2013, in our little office in Vancouver, we advised on the sale of 18 companies, 18, mostly single asset gold projects. Including some large ones. We sold the Mount Milligan mine and Terrain Minerals to Thompson Creek for about 700 million Canadian. We sold the Blackwater project to New Gold for more than $500 million. We sold the Magino project to Argonaut for a little bit more than $300 million. So all of these big open pit projects, which people were very excited about in a different environment in 2010, 2011. One of which has been built, a couple of which have been permitted, and are all moving forward on logical paths. But through that process, the market's become pretty sophisticated, and I think with our portfolio, not every project is going to appeal to every range of potential buyer. So a 1 million ounce project is not going to attract the attention of the Barricks and Newmonts, by and large. They will need to see 5 million ounces plus. So we have one of those with Springpole, which is great. But ultimately, I think end up having to find the right partner, and it might be a sale. It might be, you think about ultimately how Cisco was sold, which ended up really creating Cisco Gold Royalties and kind of spinning off a whole new series of opportunities for their shareholders. I think they've done an amazing job. But that's some of the kind of opportunity that you have in a portfolio like this, where, almost project by project, you can find things to combine it with, make it better, find good partners, and maybe you end up with a retained interest in the project. Maybe you end up with a stream or a royalty. Maybe they buy it for cash. Maybe, we end up with shares that we distribute out to the shareholders. So there's lots of different ways. We're pretty creative people. And we are going to vehemently defend the value of our shares and our investment for our shareholders. And I think there's a lot you can do in a portfolio like this to surface that value over time. We're not in an environment, and we haven't been in an environment to really spend a lot of time surfacing that value. We're not in an environment where people are coming to buy development projects for cash. We'll get there. In this market, we will. We're not quite there yet, but there are lots of people knocking on the door, looking to partner with us, looking to invest in our projects in order to earn in. And in a situation, you made reference to our share price, which we're all very disappointed in. But with our share price where it is, we need to be aware of and look at all of the opportunities that we have to raise the capital we need to de-risk the projects, not just issue equity, because we're really, really sensitive to dilution through that process too.
That's
right?
good to know. That's good to know. Then dilution is not always. That's normally never good.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have no other choice.
We have projects we need to move forward, and
that's for sure.
It's investment in the future value for sure.
Yeah. What is the market cap at the moment?
Market cap today is about 150 million Canadian.
Okay. Then thank you for the update. Good luck with your process, and I'm 100% sure in 2 years we have a total different game here.
Well, that's great, and thank you. And for any of your viewers, we're going to be in Munich at the conference, likely located pretty close to Keith. Someone has told me he's a bit of a celebrity at that show, and then we're actually going to be at the Precious Metals in Zurich shortly thereafter. So look forward to hopefully meeting up with a bunch of your viewers and partners and investors.
I'm 100% sure that a lot of the people are there.
That's great. We'll look forward to it.
Das war ein Update von First Mining Gold. Wie soll man es jetzt am besten so? Also es hat einen Strategiewechsel gegeben. Wie ich am Anfang gesagt habe, sie haben 2015, 16 sehr viel akquiriert und die Strategie am Anfang war eher so eine Buy-and-Hold-Strategie. Man kauft es billig ein, lässt es liegen und dann, wenn der Markt läuft, verkauft man es. Das Problem ist, dass wir natürlich jetzt einen relativ langen Zyklus gehabt haben, wo der Markt konsolidiert hat und wir jetzt erst den Ausbruch haben. Und sie haben jetzt diese Strategie, ich würde jetzt mal sagen, adaptiert, dass sie sagen, okay, wir haben diese sehr gut gekauft, zu sehr billigen Preisen, allerdings müssen wir diese weiter entwickeln, also de-risk, also die Risikominimierung machen an diesen Projekten, damit wir auch an Value zu diesen einzelnen Projekten dazugeben. Und wir sollten nicht vergessen, sie haben, und schauen Sie noch bitte die Webseiten an, die haben es wirklich gut gemacht, sie haben 6 erstklassige Projekte, Tier-1-Projekte, sie haben Tier-2, Tier-3-Projekte auch, aber die ersten 6, auf die konzentriert man sich. Da sind ungefähr 11 Millionen Unzen an Ressourcen da, die alle in Kanada liegen, also wirklich von der Judikatur sehr gut. Nicht irgendwo im Dschungel oder sonst irgendwas, sondern in Kanada, wo man weiß, wie man mit solchen Projekten umgehen kann. Natürlich ist Permitting und so weiter immer ein Thema und er hat auch selber ja gesprochen vom Permitting. Wenn Sie einmal ein größeres Projekt, das Springpole-Projekt mit ungefähr 5 Millionen Unzen eine Genehmigung drauf haben, dann ist das ja ganz anderes Game, weil dann wollen natürlich auf einmal die Großen natürlich auch das reingeben. Für mich war es, also einerseits, wir haben diese Projekte da, die entwickeln sie jetzt weiter, indem dass sie eben die Risikominimierung machen. Und der zweite Teil war für mich jetzt dann interessant, wie wollen sie denn es verkaufen? Denn in 2 Jahren schaut die Company ganz anders aus. Wenn das eintritt, was ich erwarte beim Goldpreis, dann werden sie denen nächstes Jahr die Tür einlaufen, weil es ja gar nicht mehr anders geht, weil die Leute dringend dann Projekte brauchen. Wo kaufen wir lieber ein Projekt aus wie in Kanada, als wie ich gehe irgendwo in die Pampa. Und da haben sie gesagt, sind sie jetzt sehr flexibel, sehr kreativ, welche Möglichkeiten es bestehen, dass man die Projekte hergibt. Ob das jetzt irgendwie einzelner Verkauf ist, weil ein Projekt mit 1,5 Millionen Unzen interessiert ein Goldcorp und ein Newmont nicht. Ein Springpole interessiert ein Goldcorp und ein Barrick sehr wohl, während 1,5 Millionen Unzen nicht interessiert. Das ist für andere Firmen wieder spannend. Das heißt, man ist da sehr wohl, sehr flexibel, wie man so einen Prozess steuern kann. Und der letzte Teil, was wir darüber gesprochen haben, ist jetzt wieder zurückgehend auf die De-Risking. Wie kann man denn das finanzieren? Denn Dilution, Verwässerung, das taugt uns alle nicht. Das wollen wir auch nicht wirklich und deswegen überlegen sie da kreative Ansätze zu machen, wie man quasi möglicherweise Partner reinnimmt, um einzelne Projekte vorwärts zu bringen, um die dann natürlich attraktiv zu machen für andere große Produzenten, die dann zukaufen. Wir sind jetzt, ich meine, wenn man bedenkt, dass die Reise 2015 angefangen haben jetzt 4 Jahre hinter uns gebracht. Die Aktie hat nicht wirklich viel performt, aber die nächsten 2 Jahre, sage ich mal, werden dann sein, wo wir dann dementsprechend wirklich Geld verdienen können. Und das ist eigentlich genau der richtige Punkt und der wichtige Punkt. Und so billig, wie jetzt die Aktie ist, bin ich nicht reingekommen. Deswegen würde ich jeden, der wirklich an dem Sektor was mitmachen will, schauen Sie nur die Firma an. Das ist für mich eine sichere Bank, wie man am steigenden Goldpreis im Long Run Geld verdienen wird. Das war's von First Mining Gold. Dan Wilton, neuer CEO oder CEO von First Mining Gold im Oktober 2019. Thank you. You understand German?
Weniger.